Oh. Satchidanandarupaya Vishwotpattyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditarataschaarteshwabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Keitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kim Va Parerishwaraha Sadyo Hridya Varudyate Trakritibihi Shushrushubistatchana. Hari Om, and greetings from Toronto. In the 11th skanda, in the second adhyaya, Shri Vasudeva, that is Bhagavan Krishna's father, he has this intensity to know Bhagavan Krishna, not as his child, but to know Bhagavan Krishna as Bhagavan. And this is a very reflective question because it shows that the final relationship we have to have with Bhagavan is one of oneness. We have to go beyond having a relationship with Bhagavan for us to be Bhagavan. And so, in the second chapter, starting with verse 28, and this continues on to chapter 5, verse 42. All of these chapters and verses are encompassed within the Navayogi Gita. Lots of words are used like Upadesha, I've been sharing, dialogue. I'm changing it to Gita because in this skanda, many Gitas are coming. As soon as this Gita is completed, another Gita will start. The Navayogi Gita. So now you have the exact references for you to further reflect. Most recently, question 7, what is avatara? Answer 7, sanstapana. Bhagavan incarnates to balance his creation. Ujjaswami Tejomayananda had shared, and I referenced this at the end of the 9th skanda, right before the 10th began. Bhagavan incarnates only to bless. To establish or balance, it seems very functional. Bhagavan only comes for anugraha. You become enlightened, you become enlightened, you become me. This is what Bhagavan had come to do. And in the 7th answer, there was a focus on Rishi Narayana and how Rishi Narayana slaps his thigh, and who comes out? Devi Urvashi. Here, Indra, you take whatever you want. I don't want your spot. I am happy. The 8th question, what is kama? What if one doesn't desire Bhagavan? And the eighth answer, patanti. Patanti means to fall. Patanti means to devolve. We are yoga yonis, which means we can evolve or devolve. We can become animals again. Mentally for sure, physically also. And all of this is because of kama. The teaching for us is to live intentionally, to be vigilant about your desires so that you don't nurture desires for worldliness, but rather nurture desires for moksha. I've repeated this many times to our vanaprasthas. You should live a life filled with kama. But kama for what? Not dharma or artha, but kama for moksha. Like the gopis, like the devis, had a desire for the desireless. That is Bhagavan. Ready for the completion of Gita? We're so fortunate to have access to all of these Gitas. Rama Gita, Lakshmana Gita, Navayogi Gita, Bhagavad Gita. Very fortunate. We are in chapter 5, verse 19. Last question. The questioner is still Raja Nimi. The answerer is Rishi Karabhajana. Rishi Karabhajana. You're going to love this question and answer. Kasmin kale sa Bhagavan kim varna kidrisho nirbihi namna vakena vidhuna vidhina pujate tad ihochatam. Kasmin kale sa Bhagavan. In the different times that Bhagavan incarnates, kim varnaha kidrisho nirbihi. O masters, what colors does he reincarnate or incarnate into? What forms does he incarnate into? Namna va kena vidina. What names does he incarnate into? And what are the guidelines? Pujate tad ihochatam. What are the guidelines to worship, to be close to Bhagavan? This is the translation. Raja Nimi is asking about yajanti. Yajanti, that's the key word. Even though he uses the word pujate, which really means, how do I offer puja to Bhagavan? The answer uses the word yajanti. So that's what we're tuned into. Putting this together, Raja Nimi is asking, time is changing. How do I stay focused on Bhagavan? For us, as the context keeps changing, how do you still engage with Bhagavan? Is the question clear to all? Okay. We shift to the answer. The answer is given in chapter 5, verses 20 to 42. 20 to 42. You all are about to start a 4-month pause on Vedanta and Bhagavata, so you can go through all of the specific answers. I am referencing verse 32. This is a wonderful connection with Ramayana also. Verse 32. Krishna varnam tvisha krishnam Sangopangastra parshadam yagne sankirtana prayaihi yajanti hi sumedasaha. Yajanti, everyone caught? That's the answer. Krishna Varnam. Bhagwan is dark in color. Tvisha Krishnam, yet is brilliant. And that's such a cool dvandva, though dark in color, is brilliant. Darkness doesn't shine, but Bhagwan can make darkness shine. Sango Pangastra Parshadam, and around Bhagwan, there are many who serve Bhagwan. There are many decorations around Bhagwan. Yagne Sankirtana Prayaihi, and the way to, Yagnehi is Yajanti, the way to be close to Bhagwan is Sankirtana. That is the answer. Sankirtana. Kirti means to praise. Sankirti means to praise only. And another way to be oriented towards this, for those who saw the rad that was posted yesterday, what is the most effective social media? Your lifestyle. What is the best way to praise Bhagwan? Live for Bhagwan, not just with words. Yajanti hi sumedasaha, those who are wise. Sumedha, this is how they are close to Bhagwan. Question, Yajanti. Answer, Sankirtana or Japa. In Ramayana, the word Japa is used. In Bhagavad Gita, it's Japa also. Here's Sankirtana, they're synonyms. Okay? So now what else is shared in between all of this? Please try to write this down. In Krita Yuga, that is the beginning of time. Why called Krita? Because there's integrity in Krita Yuga. What people think, they speak about, what they speak about, they act about. In this period, one of Bhagwan's names, even though there are many, one of them I'm giving to you is Suparna. Suparna means the one with beautiful feathers. That's referring to Bhagwan rides Garuda. And Bhagwan's, so from Nama to Rupa, Bhagwan's color is Shukla. Shukla means white, like my kurta. Shukla. In terms of guna, Bhagwan looks like a brahmachari. And so the sadhana or yajanti is tapa. Tapa sometimes is defined as dhyana or contemplation. So in Krita Yuga, this is the nama, this is the rupa, this is the guna. We should engage in sadhana to feel him as Dhamma in our heart. Are you all with me? You'll leave me soon, I know. Be with me for a short period more. Next, in Treta Yuga. This is the next time. Many names. I'm only giving you one unique name. One of the unique names is Urukrama. Urukrama. It'd be so cool to meet someone named Urukrama. And the color is Rakta. Rakta means bloodish, reddish. Bhagwan looks like a Purohit, a pujari. So Bhagwan literally has like a spoon and has the kusha grass on his finger and so on. And so the way that bhaktas like us can yajanti is yaga. Yaga is a macro ritual with 1,000 priests and 10,000 people. Bhagavatam is being shared in a yaga right now. We're still together. Are you fascinated by this? I find this to be so fascinating. And you know what I love about this? And I hope you can appreciate this about this course. You've all heard this before, but where's the reference? Correct? Here I'm reading to you the references because I've shared so many times. A teacher who tells you something but doesn't show where it is not a teacher. They have to show you where this is. In Dwapara Yuga, that's the next period of time, Bhagwan's nama, and now it becomes specific, is Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. That's Bhagwan Krishna and his family, correct? We have explored all of that. Bhagwan's Varna is Shama, which means like a rain cloud. For most of us in North America now, we will see those kinds of clouds, a rain cloud. And Bhagwan looks like a Maharaja. So Bhagwan has his crown and Bhagwan has his chakra and so on. And so as bhaktas, our yuga sadhana is puja. In a puja, isn't that what we do for Bhagwan? Raja upacharaha, here's your umbrella, here's your elephant, here's singing, here's dancing, we wash your feet and so on. Puja, that's a micro ritual. Not 1,000 priests, but one, you. And remember I had shared with all of you that our pujas eventually should evolve to being manasa. They should be mental offerings of puja. Now you're all thinking, this is awesome, but remember, we're not in that time period, okay? We wish we were in that time period. We are in Kali Yuga. Kali means conflict, harm, violence. Every day we read about this, we hear about this. So true that we live in Kali Yuga. Bhagwan's nama is not given. The implication of that, in case you're confused, is that any nama is works. Less specifics or conditions are given. Bhagwan's Rupa Krishna, I just read that. That's the verse I just read, is black, but brilliant. Bhagwan's form that is shared, and I read this too, it's all that's surrounding him. His bhaktas, his sevikas, his Sudarshana chakra. And so a bhakta's sadhana is sankirtana or japa. Now trying to connect these dots for you. Why no name? To engage in japa, pick any name. Why all of these accompaniments? Because so much of japa relates to how Bhagwan looks, what Bhagwan is doing. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, let me add a few more details here. When one offers japa, they're offering japa towards their Ishta Deva, their personal God. It is important to have a personal God. How else can you personalize God? But that Ishta Deva can only come from a Ishta Guru. Who else is going to reveal the authenticity and depth of Bhagavan than your personal guide? I'm not even going to say it's important. It is mandatory to have a personal guide. How else will this journey be personalized? Another insight. There's an Upanishad called Kali Santarana. Kali, I've just described, conflict. Santarana means how to cross over well. Like the question, what is taranti? In this, Rishi Narada is asking his father Bhagavan Brahma, how do I cross over Kali? And what does Bhagavan Brahma respond with? Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He gives him the Maha Mantra, the same Maha Mantra that we listened to before class. Now in Kali Yuga, we have switched this to Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. But I'm telling you in an authentic and deep way that it is Hare Rama, then Hare Krishna. But don't get lost in that. Don't engage in more Kali when you're trying to cross over conflict. Whatever resonates with you works. It could be Hare Shiva, fine. Hari Devi, that's fine too. Last insight about this sadhana, then we'll get into the completion of this chapter and the Gita and so on. This is such an awesome question and awesome answer. We all have equipments, intellect, mind, body. And all day, the identification with these equipments change. In the morning, we are most identified with the intellect. At night, we are most identified with the body, from sattva to tamas. We're together. I hope I'm not losing anyone. And so the question really is, as my identification changes, how do I still engage in sadhana? And what is the easiest sadhana to engage in? Using your words. How loving Bhagavan is. Start by using your words. That's Kali Yuga. But then go back. Puja, that is small actions. Yaga, big actions. And tapa or dhyana, that's your thoughts. Srimad Bhagavatam is finally teaching us Satyam Param Dhimahi Dhyana. How do you get into dhyana? Start with your words, small actions, big actions, and then thoughts. Makes sense. We're taking a Kali Yuga sadhana, but finally we have to get into the Satya Yuga sadhana. Awesome. Then what? We continue to verse 44. Tatontaradhadire siddhaha sarvalokasya pashyataha raja dharman upatishtan avapa paramam gatim. Tatontaradhadire siddhaha. After the Navayogis gave their answer to Raja Nimi, they disappeared. Sarva lokasya pashyataha, in front of everyone. While everyone was seeing, They disappeared. Then Raja Dharman Upatishtan, that Raja Nimi followed what they guided him in. The Upadesha they shared, he followed through with that. All the way to Avapa Paramam Gatim, to moksha. To that Dhamma where there is no more higher or deeper Dhamma. This is the Palashruti. This is what will happen. If this, then this. A couple of reflections on this. Again, we're in chapter 5. That was verse 44. Our Sadguru Shishya Parampara, our Shastra, our Bhagavan, this trust triangle is ever present. If your sincerity becomes so intense, they will manifest for you to feel this trust triangle, and then they will go back to being unmanifest. And if you're reflecting on what I'm sharing, you will know that you're reflecting on this because you become less fearful and more faithful. I've shared with all of you, I have not seen my master since December of 2019, but I feel closer to my master than ever before because I know this is the truth. Love in the form of this trust triangle is ever present. We just have to invoke that through intensity. And Raja Nimi, Pujaswami Tejamananda had shared, when we're taught that japa is the yuga sadhana, we get into this idea of lip service. Isn't that what we do in Kali Yuga? Lip service. I'll do this for you, but it's just me saying it, but I don't do anything for you. Or I love Bhagwan, but I'm so scared all the time. But Raja Nimi was not like this. He may have started with words, but then small actions, big actions, and dhyana. He followed through with this Upadesha. And what that shows for us, even though this is the beginning of Kali Yuga, correct? Bhagavan Krishna's manifestation is going away. But where was Raja Nimi living? Krita Yuga. Integrity between his words, actions, and thoughts. And finally, the final shloka of this adhyaya. I'm now on 52. Itihasa imam punyam dharayet yasamahitaha saviduyeha shamalam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Imam itihasa punyam. Srimad Bhagavatam here is being described as itihasa, or history, is punyam, purifying. Yaha samahitaha dharayet, for those who in a focused way are listening, reflecting, and contemplating on this. Then, sa viduya iha shamalam, here and now, they become cleansed or freed of their shamalam, deservership, doership. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate, and they rediscover that they are infinite, that they are Brahman. That is how this chapter is completed. The earlier verse I read to you, that verse was number 44. was Rishi Narada speaking to Sri Vasudeva. Remember how this is how this Gita began. Sri Vasudeva asks Rishi Narada, how can I be one with Bhagavan? So Rishi Narada now explains to Sri Vasudeva, this is how. The verse I just read to you, 52, is Rishi Shuka sharing with Raja Parikshita. That's how Bhagavatam is flowing, correct? How cool. We go so deep into this dialogue and then come back. Master teachers. Okay. I'm going to read to you now many paragraphs in English. So you can take notes if you want, or you can just listen. This is our Dikshanta Pravachan. This is our valedictory address. Great men who see into the heart of things and understand their good sides look upon the age of Kali with greater favor than the other ages. For in this age, man attains to his goal merely by extolling his names and excellences. For jivas entangled in the transmigratory cycle, there is no better means than taking the Lord's name and singing his praise for the attainment of peace, enlightenment, and liberation. O king, many of them who are born in earlier yugas long to have embodiment in Kali, for more devotees of Narayana are born in Kali than in any other age. Hearing all this, the high-souled Vasudeva and his fortunate wife Devaki were thrilled with wonder, and they overcame their ignorance of their heart. They asked the question, they followed through, they became one with Bhagavan. If a human hears this extremely holy narrative with a one-pointed mind, his ignorance will be dispelled here itself, and he will attain to the realization of the Supreme Spirit.